The title of this video is not one I ever expected to write, but we're here now and we need to talk about it. Denmark has been absolutely useless at Eurovision for years. Before Sisal managed to finally drag the country kicking and screaming into the final, we saw 4 consecutive non-qualifications, ranging from the unfortunate in 2021 to the boring in 2024 and the disastrous in 22 and 23. They were the butt of every joke, constantly unfavourably compared to their neighbours in Sweden, Norway and Finland. But now, all of a sudden, the narrative has flipped on its head, and Denmark seems to be in with a shot of winning the entire thing. What on earth happened here? Let's rewind, because this is very much a hype train that has emerged post-national final rather than before. We first looked at the songs in the Danish national selection in January, and our first takeaway was, well, it's better than Norway, and that's already a success. Whether the Danish broadcaster has done some voodoo and transferred whatever curse they had from themselves onto the Norwegians, or whether it's just bad luck, at the very least, we acknowledge that this show was competitive now in a way it hadn't necessarily been before. At the same time, I predicted with complete certainty who would be the winner, and they ended up coming third. I was totally categorical about it, and totally wrong. So it's time to dive into a show where I made 0 good calls, talk about the song that unexpectedly won, and how it went from third in the odds to winning Denmark to third in the odds to winning the entire contest. Sometimes it's necessary to own up to some of your huge glaring misses, and for me that's one of these times because I didn't see this coming at all. If you've been following through Eurovision season, you'll know the approach now to this kind of video, where we look at a few different songs in the show, focusing on those that we're either perceived to have a chance at winning beforehand, or those who have points of interest for other reasons. Then we go to the winner and devote the most time there, of course. Quickly before we get into it, if you love what I do, you can get videos a day early and support me by signing up to my Patreon, which is in the description. This is my full-time job and I like being able to pay my bills. So all of your contributions are really appreciated. Now it's time to get on with the video. I guess it makes sense to begin with the song that I lazily assumed would run away with this selection. That was Sisal, who returned with her song Infinity. Eurovision brain can be a disease, and this proves it, because in retrospect, we really shouldn't have just immediately assumed that Sisal would walk this thing, solely on the basis that she was in Eurovision last year, especially given that she didn't even win the public vote last time, and Denmark has not historically been particularly kind to returners. What I will say is that the staging at least arrived at this competition a lot more polished than it did last year, where the staging was so bad at this stage that even Sisal made a TikTok roasting her own performance. In addition to that, we maybe have a slightly more polished song in the studio cut. But at that point, I really start struggling to tell you how this differentiates itself from Hallucination in any way at all. It's so similar that it kind of feels like everyone just went, oh well, that kind of worked last year, let's do exactly the same thing again. That then left it to the live performance and the staging to deliver here. Sadly, I don't think it did, and it left me wanting in a number of ways. Firstly, the song is called Infinity, and we get that it's about infinity from the lyrics. So was it really necessary to stick a giant infinity symbol on stage and on Sisal's outfit? It was so on the nose and so over the top that it kind of made you go, okay, fine, we get it, you don't need to keep reminding us. As well as that, the staging in general felt so over-controlled and so constricted and absent of colour and personality. When I look back to Sisal last year, I remember a performance full of charisma, something that was organised and tightly put together, but something that still felt free and joyful. It felt like she let loose, and that suited the song well. This year it leaves me with something missing. It did kind of feel like the song dragged on forever though, so the title is at least somewhat accurate. In general, artists returning to Eurovision doesn't have to be a bad thing. We've had some incredible returnees, with Loreen being an obvious example in the modern era. The problem is, if there's no evolution, as there's unlikely to be if you try to go back to back, what is it that you're bringing exactly that we haven't seen before? There's nothing new or exciting that isn't fresh in our memories from last year. In that case, the European public awarded it precisely 2 points, and the Danes were right to be skeptical about doing the same thing again. If anything, it felt like a regression, less attitude, less joy, less colour, and ultimately less prospect at the contest. We went from the Eurovision final to what felt like going to the second chance round from a Melodifestivalen heat in Skellefteå or Sundsvall. Sisal's presence in Eurovision 2025 was a blessing, both for Eurovision fans and for Denmark, because it clearly forced Dansk MGP to take a step forward. She was the right winner of that show last year. I will choose to remember her fondly for that and not factor in this particular entry into my thoughts. Third place was honestly a fair finish, and if she does come back again, I hope it's in a few years' time with something that is fresh. Going to second in this selection, we have Erika Jayne, who participated with her song, Death of Me. Before the show, this was my favourite. Afterwards, it was eclipsed by the eventual winner, but that doesn't mean I like it any less. Where Sisal's performance maybe lacked a little in personality, this had it in bags. The song is extremely but charmingly camp, and felt like the end credits to a movie set in Vegas or something, in the latter half of the 20th century. It managed to get a difficult balance right by being retro and nostalgic, but not feeling in the slightest bit tired or dated. What I really love here is that there was no hesitation at all on going all in on the aesthetic. We start with an organ intro and Erika with a veil over her head before a giant, gaudy, tacky, but brilliant pair of wings is revealed behind her. Because why the hell not? The performance very much continues in that vein. Dance Like You're Possessed and Pray About It on Monday, It's Called Balance Baby, is superb writing, and I won't hear any different. What this manages to grasp is something that we often miss in Eurovision songs, especially when they're relying on musical genres that have been very heavily done before. That's authenticity. This just feels like Erika having fun, and it feels like the creative team, the dancers and so on around her have done everything in their power to really put the focus on that. Because Erika is so visibly having a blast and so visibly in her element and being herself on stage, we feel that too and we enjoy it more as a result. That, in my opinion, is the biggest success of all when it comes to this song. What I am curious about is in the second verse, which Erika closes with, I'm looking Lucy in the eye, and she's like, come with me. Who is Lucy? This merited investigation. While trying to work this out and checking her Insta, I discovered numerous things about Erika, including 2 separate personal blog/meme pages that she runs, which are linked in her bio. They have about 100 followers each, and one of them, rather fittingly, was last active 69 weeks ago at the time of recording. I've gone through each of them for research purposes, and I found this. I'm afraid I'm going to have to conclude that she is one of the funniest and most online people ever to have existed in the Kingdom of Denmark. She literally posted an animation of a compact disc being inserted into a drive that is between her breasts, on main. I cannot show you the video for obvious monetization reasons, but here's a similar photo she posted alongside it that hopefully gives you an idea. She uses Blogspot in 2026. I am obsessed. Anyway, the point is, I did work out who Lucy is, and again, it's just superb lyricism. The answer was right in front of me the whole time, and it took me crashing out on my Discord server and someone pointing it out to me to realize. It's short for Lucifer. All I had to do was use my brain, read the literal few lines before this, and it just would have clicked. Like, come on. The club's got me crucified. I'm out here singing Hallelujah. High in paradise. Bartenders serving up holy water in a cup. I'm looking Lucy in the eye and she's like, come with me. So Lucy is Lucifer, and I crashed out over this and deep dove into Erika Jayne's meme Insta as a result, for no particular good reason. Hopefully you at least found it entertaining. Personally, I feel it was overall a net gain. The point is, Erika is funny. The song is fun and silly, but also good. She performed it well. The staging was extra in the most glorious way. I loved everything about this. Great job. Please come back. Ultimately, though, I did actually think that it would be one of Erika Jayne or Sisal that ended up winning this thing. I saw Sisal as the heavy frontrunner and then Erika as the possible outsider. I guess the prediction came half true in that Erika did manage to just get over the line past Sisal. But what I didn't expect was for the show to be completely stolen by a winner who, to be honest, I hadn't expected to challenge when I first heard the song. That was Søren Topegard Lund with his song Før vi går hjem. My apologies to any Danes watching. Firstly, if my pronunciation is not the best. Given your country's general refusal to send songs in Danish, with only one other fully Danish song this century, it is not something in which I've had to practice very much. This song flew under not only my radar, but a lot of other people's radars as well. Though I have to give some credit to Jay here actually, who immediately singled it out as his favourite, and as the winner, so good for him. I was in Estonia preparing to be disappointed by Vanilla Ninja at Eesti Laul on the same weekend as this show. I remember very clearly the way that all of a sudden my phone started exploding with messages and tweets from fan media colleagues who were on site at Dansk MGP in Denmark. They had just seen Søren's rehearsal, and they were losing their minds. He was still a distant third in the odds, and it was too late in the day for those odds to dramatically shift. But all of a sudden, every single person who had seen it was 100% certain he deserved to win. I was still skeptical. I enjoyed my night in Estonia, and I waited until the following day to watch Søren's performance. I adopted a position in advance of, well, I imagine it's good, but surely it can't be that good. Turns out, it actually was that good. Actually, better than my best possible expectation. It's a masterclass in taking a strong but not spectacular song and transforming it into a contender through great staging choices and through having someone who can deliver it amazingly live. There is a genre of Eurovision staging which can be summed up as, we are going to have a big box. Käärijä is a notable example of this in the past, and Farid Mammadov tried it as well. You could argue that Lorene's Tattoo Panini Press was a variation on the big box theme too. My point is, it's a versatile and effective way to stage something, provided that the song and the performance can support it. The flip side of this is Ollie Alexander and his Saw bathroom, which was a really cool concept that didn't quite go to plan. Luckily, in this case, it's done beautifully and complements the story of the song. The box is see-through and dancers start inside it, with Søren on the outside looking in. He sings about whether he should say no, about his hesitation to go back to someone he promised himself he wouldn't. Then the dancers in the box seem to tempt him. First, he's on top with his hand against the surface as if he was longing to be inside. And then he's pulled in. The intensity builds and builds as the song goes on, but the beat immediately starts going harder the second he lands in the box, and he starts dancing with the dancers alongside him. At the same time, the song does still have an element of hesitance and contemplating about it. It's as if Søren knows he's doing something that he said he wouldn't, and that there's still parts of him that are holding back. The whole stage is buried in a deep blue throughout the performance to this point as well, which reflects some of the same emotions. Then things escalate again. First, Søren and the dancers emerge from the box, and Søren's t-shirt is ripped away, revealing a mesh top underneath. Then, once they appear in formation at the front of the stage, the dancers push Søren out from the lineup. As he sings the line, "The heart knows what it wants, just let it decide." Bright lights start flashing like a ticking time bomb that is about to go off. And then all hell breaks loose, with a chorus of voices singing, well, the chorus, together with Søren, with the stage now pulsating and lit in red. This chorus is repeated twice with maximum intensity. This is the moment where the song went from a likely finalist to a contender. And it's this 40 seconds at the end that has driven Denmark into the talk for winning the entire contest in May. None of that would have been possible if it weren't for the fact that Søren's performance is electrifying. He literally gets every single thing right. He sells the staging perfectly. His voice is amazing. And then when it really counts, when those big notes start coming, his voice rasps ever so slightly in a way that gives me chills every single time. It's so magical and compelling, and it makes me keep coming back every single time. You can tell that Søren has stage and acting experience, because this isn't just performing a song, it's a complete drama narrative all by itself. Pop music is so difficult to execute properly in a context like this one. The competition is crazy, and everyone is used to hearing only the very best of this style. It's everywhere and it's constant. It saturates every radio station, every TV production that we ever see. Standing out amongst an ocean of artists all making music in the same lane is so difficult. And yet they managed it here. The way this develops and develops as the song goes on is so clever. It doesn't stray from a pretty conventional pop structure, but each verse and each chorus feels different to the one that preceded it, because the production ramps up again and again, as does the urgency and power in Søren's voice. Like we discussed, the staging matches that ramp up too. I get so excited when we find an example like this of someone getting everything right. And that's what I'm feeling here. To watch a song that I liked but wasn't totally enthused by transform live into a complete showstopper is one of the single most satisfying things that Eurovision can give us, and one of my favourite things about National Final Season 2. Usually you'd find at least one thing to criticise, even in some of the best performances, but I seriously don't know what could be done to improve this. Staging-wise, performance-wise, it was essentially perfect in my view. If I put on maximum strictness here, so at least I have something, the big box that Søren got in and out of had some stains on it that were visible on camera, probably because of the fact it's made out of a material that is susceptible to that kind of thing, and a cameraman was accidentally visible for like 2 seconds in the middle of the song. That's it. I have nothing else to criticize. Denmark would be best served by changing as little as possible about this. Keep the concept. Keep the colours, the choreo, everything. Do what you need to do to make it work on the Eurovision stage, and then just watch it fly. Thankfully, they seem to have at least somewhat realised this, as an initially mooted partial or complete translation into English was quickly shot down, both by Søren and the broadcaster. The question to answer then is, not whether Denmark have produced something excellent or whether this will be their best result in years. Frankly, I'd be stunned if this was below the 9th places achieved in 2018 and 2014. The real question is, can it match Emily de Forest in 2013 and win the entire thing? I have to say, at this moment in time, I'm not sure it will get all the way there, but it might be close. And if we end up in a situation like 2025, where the points are spread relatively even across the top countries, then the window does begin to open. Stranger things have certainly happened. In my opinion, if this is going to win, it's going to be a victory led by a really strong jury result. The 4 criteria juries officially judge on are the vocal capacity of the singer, composition and originality of the song, the performance on stage, and the overall impression of the performance. The song gives us an opportunity to hear just how good Søren's vocals are, especially towards the end, and we've already discussed the staging being essentially perfect for this. So that's 2 categories ticked off straight away. The song does a good job of maintaining pop norms, but adding a little bit of an edge, and I love how the intensity builds throughout. So there's potential for composition and originality points there as well. As for the overall impression of the performance, that could honestly mean anything, but essentially it's going to come down to jurors' personal tastes. Because this is super accessible, I think on average it will be, especially given that this year we've got the addition of 2 jurors on every single jury who are under the age of 25. All of this comes together for a potentially big score, especially if key rivals don't quite get it together. The score from the public is a bit more of a question mark, and sometimes it can feel a bit like trying to read the tea leaves when it comes to predicting which way the public is going to go. It took until Eurovision week, for example, for everyone to realise that the public would love Trenelettel in 2022. And everyone expected Barabarabasti to sail away in the televote, only for it to get mogged by Estonian Coffee Man. We can look at some comparable songs. For example, Loreen and Alessandra did very well with the public in 2023 by bringing pop songs. But on the flip side, in 2024, the opposite was true. Look Talk by Sylvester Belt came 10th that year, scoring only 58 points from that side of the score. Conventional pop didn't feature particularly high in the voting in 2025 either. Given the public's propensity to swing wildly between different genres and styles, and their regular habit to completely reject and dumbfound pre-show hype and expectations, with this style of music especially, it's a fool's errand to say now how well it will do. But it will have at least some appeal. And if that appeal reaches up high enough, then we might see Søren take us to Copenhagen next year. Of all the many things that could have happened this season, this is one of the ones I expected the least. Let me close then with an apology. Denmark, I am so sorry for being so mean about your selection for so many years. And I'm very happy for you that you've finally got your act together. Even if that has been by performing a voodoo curse to give your pain to Norway instead. I desperately hope that Denmark gets the rewards it deserves in May, because if they don't, I do actually worry we won't be hearing Danish in the contest again for some time. For now, I will enjoy being in the odd and unusual position of finding myself rooting for Denmark. And if this did go all the way, it would be an amazing and deserving winner of the contest. Hopefully, we'll get a chance to speak to Søren directly about that prospect sometime between now and May. That's all for today. As always, I really appreciate all your support, and thank you so much for watching. My socials are all in the description, and please do make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already so you don't miss a thing. For now, take care, and I will see you again very soon.